What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about intuitive machines. Give you a quick overview of some of the data points, what is really moving it, and what analysts are doing behind the scenes. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So it is down 2.29%, at 741 the low, 802 the high. So kind of getting dragged down with the broader market because there's been no news, no SEC filings coming out from intuitive machines at all to really do that or like move it. So in reality, it's just at the mercy of the broader market. And right now the market is in panic mode. So NASDAQ down 2.4, S&P down 1.6, Dow is down 0.69%. So yeah, there's just a lot of fear in the broader market. And even looking at the data points today, you had PCE coming in line with the forecast, but even yesterday you had GDP, the day prior you had JOLTS numbers. Those data points weren't good. And luckily enough, a lot of big companies have been unveiling their earnings and doing fairly well. So the market was able to kind of distract itself from those two data points, which again were fairly crappy, with good earnings. But Meta, a couple other companies didn't really come in line with expectations. So now that is all of a sudden spooking the broader market. So that's what's causing a hell of a lot of volatility. Kind of low volume today. So 7.2 million shares being traded, 13.3 is the average. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So you see some buying pretty much within the first 20 something minutes of the trading day, and then aside from that it just goes silent, which in reality is kind of a nice change of events. It does show that big money is paying attention to it and that maybe they see today's pullback as somewhat unjustified, but at the same time, based on the price point, they're kind of the reason why it did bounce higher. So again, got to give credit when credit is due. And aside from that though, these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So dark pool is relatively active, and usually that does mean it's linked to shorting. So I'll give you a quick overview of what shorts are doing. So at the time of doing this video, they're increasing 218,000 shares. I've had some people ask me oh, how come it changes all the time? This number it's always changing, right? So that is net. They trade back and forth, no different than retail investors than anything else. So these numbers are typically always just moving, right? So just because right now they are increasing 218,000 shares, by the end of the day, they might be increasing 5 million or might be returning 5 million. So just wanted to kind of break that down. So I guess I take for granted sometimes I just go through a lot of this data, and maybe some people might not understand it. So on a side note, any one of my videos, if I ever go over something and you want some further clarification, feel free to drop a comment. I can definitely go over that a little bit more in detail. But 33.18% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 17.79 million shares. Cost to borrow average is 10.65%, so a little bit lower in comparison to yesterday, the last trading day. And then utilization is 75.7. So by shorts increasing today kind of does make today valid. At least that's how I interpret this data. Moving over to this though, 1.38 million in calls, 151,000 in puts. 50% of all the options being done today are optimistic and bullish. And of the call options that are being purchased, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 850. So more of a recovery. And interestingly enough, you see for the December 20th chain for it to be around that $10. So I don't really know what's coming out at that time frame to really prompt that level of optimism. But no matter what though, options activity is just merely a sentiment. It does not move the stock price. Flip side, looking at the puts, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that sub 750 mark. So a little bit more upside is anticipated, but I think right now, one big thing that is really influencing intuitive machines is A, shorts, and B, the technicals. So based on this right now, with it at $7.68, it is trading between these 2 points right now. So the S2 and S1, so 753 is a strong support. And luckily enough, it was able to fight back and stay within this range because the low for today, like I said, is 741. $7.77, so lucky 7 is that next strong resistance / target. Then aside from that, $8.16. So I think shorts are very strategic in trying to break it down on a technical level. Quickly going back over to IBKR. So I do have the ALMA super trend, 50, 100, and 200-day moving averages. So right now it is slightly below that ALMA, signaling more of a consolidation is anticipated. But some points to really watch for. So that 50-day moving average is 708. And then aside from that, the super trend is roughly around that $6.21. So we can kind of look back at when it actually does turn bearish, especially in this stock's case, it usually is a long-term trend. So luckily enough, over the last little bit, basically since August, it has been generally bullish. So couple points to watch for, like I said, on a technical level. Stochastic RSI, you see more of a somewhat neutral. So it is at 34, but you do see a bearish deviation. But aside from that, though, there is one thing that did come out recently that I wanted to share with you, and that was this right here. So there was a new analyst rating, $11 buy, Canaccord, Austin, who has a 32% success rating. So not really the best in reality. It might be a little bit better to just flip a coin, but nonetheless, $11 rating was given. And I think just analysts are very optimistic on the future. Of course, as I've stated in the past, typically whenever you have lower volume, which right now is kind of happening to intuitive machines, and shorts are involved, it is very easy to manipulate. So I think what is happening based on the true price point isn't really being portrayed like on the actual stock price, if that makes sense. So I think a lot of analysts have it pretty much on point of where it should be, just a lot of manipulation and stuff like that. As a consensus of everything, $10.60, and that does represent a 38% upside. So I think it's just patience is key. Even based on the latest Morningstar report, it does show the fair market value being $7.68. So pretty much exactly where it's at right now. So yeah, something to kind of keep in mind. On a side note, if you want a lot of good information, such as analyst ratings, forecasts, ownership, everything under the sun, then take a look at IBKR, link in the description below and also the comments. And while I'm actually on this screen, I did bring this up in my last video though. I actually see this as very optimistic. Some people might disagree with me on that, but quarter over quarter, institutions did increase 44.16%. Retail did go down 7.56. I think just shorts love to target heavy retail presence stocks, which right now technically is still that 57.96% is held by retail, but shorts love to take advantage of retail, but institutions have been getting in. So I see that as optimistic. Hopefully it does continue on once again, quarter over quarter and so forth. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. So going back over here, just watch for those kind of key points, but I think in general, it is just going to fall back onto the technicals as well as just larger macro events. So one thing to watch for tomorrow is right over here. So non-farm payroll, unemployment, and ISM manufacturing. And then of course you have the elections. I honestly don't really see the elections really influencing intuitive machines. I think it just might kind of affect the buying power and just sentiment of the broader market, not necessarily the business itself. But that's just me, of course. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. Take advantage of this promo because it gives you 8 free shares. So free is good, free is amazing. So take advantage of that. Link in the description below and also the comments. And then as well, I did launch memberships for this YouTube channel. So if you like the content, want to support the growth, you can definitely do so. And I also have a private Discord where I post buys for stocks and options. So really recommend you guys popping over there and doing what you do. So with all that, appreciate all of you watching.